That's the end of the song, so it must be Friday. Oh my god, it's Friday. What's up, everybody? It's Friday the 19th of the 11erd. What's the 11erd? It's Novembered. Get ready for Thanksgiving. It's coming in hot and fast. You're not even expecting it. It's next week, you freaks. What are you going to do? What are you going to do when Thanksgiving comes for you? Bad boys, bad boys. It's Ghostbusters Friday. Does anybody even know what I'm talking about right now? Today is the 19th of November. That means Cowboy Bebop, the real live... Oh, I'm excited. Cowboy Bebop, the live edition, releases today. League of Legends, the final 3 League of Legends episodes for Arcane, which is one of the follow-up. It's, oh my god. You got to check it out. It's awesome animation. It's badass. Jimmy P says to put my pants on. I refuse to put my pants on, even if it is the beginning of the show. No. Now, also tonight, the Wheel of Time series, the epic Wheel of Time series by Robert Jordan. Amazon puts out the new live versions of that, the first 3 episodes. I'm freaking out, dude. I'm nerding out. It's Nerd Weekend. Get ready for Nerd Weekend. I'm going to do construction like I always do. I'm going to not make a YouTube video, even though I want to. And I'm going to watch some nerd shows, because by the time I get to being able to actually watch TV is when I would probably make a YouTube video. And I'm not staying up that late to make YouTube videos. I'm sorry. I'm just not doing it. I'm not doing it this weekend, because next week is Thanksgiving, okay? Next week is Thanksgiving, which means I work all the days until Thanksgiving comes, and then I'm supposed to take a day off for Thanksgiving to eat a bunch of turkey and stuff, and we might do that. We might do that. We might have to do that. Zelfer Knight says, I don't know about live-action Cowboy Bebop. I have mixed feelings about it. Don't have mixed feelings about it. You love it. You love it. Period. End of story. You love it. It sounds fantastic. It's going to be great. It's going to be the best. We can't have mixed feelings about good things, okay? We had mixed feelings about The Mandalorian coming out. Remember that? Remember when we had mixed feelings about more Star Wars because the Star Wars got so screwed up? Don't worry about it. Don't have mixed feelings. Just go in there, check it out, and see what's up. As far as the Eternals goes, that movie sucks. Wait for it to come out on HBO Max or Disney Plus or whoever's going to put it out whenever you're going to watch it at home. Watch it at home. Don't go see it in the theater. But still, the continuation of Marvel stuff, that's fantastic. We love that. We love that. We want to see more. We want to see more productions of stuff going on. I'm ruining my life right now. My co-host is ruining my life. She turned the fan on me, and I've been cold all morning. I don't know why. He just blasted the fan at me, and I almost died. I almost died.
You would have been guilty of. I would have been guilty of homicide.
You might have been guilty.
Mm-hmm.
We have members around here on the YouTube channel, and we have 73 of them. I don't know what happened. Some of them left. Probably, you know what? YouTube has a new analytic thing for the memberships, and I don't like it because more information is bad in this case because it says that we have less members. We have more cancellation members over this long period of time now. Whereas before it used to just give me a number, but now it gives me a graph, of a depression graph. The depression graph is going down. So that means whatever we're doing around here, we must be doing it wrong because it's just pissing people off. But whatever. The diamonding continues. We're going to continue the diamonding trend around here until eventually we get down to one person, and then we're just going to give the show to them. Okay? We're going to do that. Do we have patrons around here? We have patrons, which the number's weird over here. Let's update it. Let's make it Acme font. That's our new font for our numbers over here. Oh, we got to wiggle it down. Wiggle it. We got to wiggle it just a little bit as it grooves. There we go. Okay. We like patronizers. Thank you very much, all the patrons around here. We don't have any new patrons. We don't have anybody to shout out except for somebody named John. This computer over here. Oh, crap. I think it just decided to restart. Anyhow, our newest patron is John with no last name or anything like that. So what's up, John? Good to see you. We do have some members in the chat, which we love to see. Mikey Fishy, Aubrey Wright, Jason Livingston, Daryl Deemer, Pipex, Aubrey, Zelf, Alyssa. I don't know if Joel G's a member. Joel G's probably not a member. Tony Franzen is, though. Tony's one of our newer members, I think. Maybe not. Wait, hold on. Let's see. Let's say we'll hit the see all button, and it'll tell us. I thought, oh, no. Tony just fixed his a while ago.
Yeah.
Or theirs.
The new ones have the arrow.
New ones have the arrow. Chad Krotz is the newest rejoined, is Chad Krotz. So we got that going for us. Right?
Yes.
Johan rejoined a little while ago.
Oh, how
and,
is Johan?
You know, I want to know how Johan's doing. I messaged him the other day, so we don't know yet. But we're going to find out, hopefully. We'll see how Johan's doing. Hopefully we can go to Vivarium. It got canceled again this year. Canceled. Vivarium was canceled again. I was considering going to it because after having gone to Peru, I was like, well, maybe I just go and figure it out and hopefully don't catch the Rona while I'm gone, right? But it got canceled, so there's nothing we can do. There's nothing we can do there because it was canceled.
Yep.
So even if I went, I'd be like, hey, there's no one here. Very weird. Oh, my God. We do have a new member today, Joel G. Joel G's a member. Oh, my God. Not only is he a member
He's
of the
also
club,
a mod.
He's also a mod.
Yeah, see? And there we go. There's the arrow.
Yeah, I am. Yeah, see? Been a member. Been a member since long before.
Yes.
Man, that coffee
1978.
My coffee is intense today, guys. Whoa. I feel like it's made out of something. But, okay, so we got all of our nerd stuff out of the way. We got a new member today, so we got to consider ourselves to be sort of successful because we also got a super chat from Pipex, a $5 super chat.
We are funded, man.
We're funded for the day.
Yeah.
I mean, let's be honest here. I'm probably going to give like $20 to Alyssa for gas, so we're going backwards. But that's all right. We can go backwards for a while, and then we'll go away. We'll just do that. Oh yeah, one of the reasons I was talking about how it's Thanksgiving is I won't be around next week. I think I'm gonna be working next week on Monday, and then Thursday is
Turkey Day,
and then we might do a Friday show. We don't know yet. Don't know what's going on. We might do a Friday show next week, but I probably won't be here on Monday, just depending on what's going on, because our topic of the day has to do with that. Let's bring in our guest. Yay! It's Alyssa Bentley, and your guys' chat went away. I made your chat go away. I'm tired of promoting your chat in the middle. I made your chat go away.
Oh, well.
If we get enough super chats today, I'll put the chat back up. How about that?
Either way.
Is that a fair trade?
Do you know what?
$1 billion, and I'll put the chat back up on the screen.
$1 billion?
$1 billion.
That's a fair trade.
You heard me.
That is a fair trade.
You heard me, sucker. Yeah? You heard me, fool.
I'm okay with that. Yep.
Yeah, $1 billion will put the chat back up on the screen. But it feels like just too interactive. You know, we're just going to get rid of it because it's just too interactive. It's just too much.
It makes the screen really busy.
It's too much going on the screen.
Aesthetically.
And plus now I can chat in here. You know?
Yep, that's true.
And then it doesn't come up on the screen.
It's like you're anonymous, except that you're totally not at all.
I'm totally not at all anonymous. That's not, not at all.
Right.
But our topic of the day, I think I put it up here in the top, is local fish stores and the importance of local fish stores for the fish keeping hobby, right? Does that make sense?
Yes.
This is one of the things I feel like we're not discussing very often with the average person of like just how important the local stores are to not only like maintaining the hobby, but like getting new people into the hobby.
Yeah.
Right? Because it's one thing to like watch a bunch of YouTube videos, right? It's like, oh, I saw this Corvus channel and I like his plants and he made fart noises in his YouTube video and it's just amazing and I want to do that.
I want to make fart noises as well.
I also want to make fart noises. But like if there's nowhere for them to go, if there's nowhere for those people to go to interact in person, are they realistically going to take the next step?
It can be a very isolating hobby.
Well,
and so,
yes,
yeah.
we were talking about how it's an isolating hobby, but I was literally just talking about people finding out about the hobby if they don't have anywhere to go and interact with it in person. Will they realistically take the next step to like get into it? Right?
Well, okay. So I know that other people have approached the hobby from a different direction, but for me, I did not know about local fish stores when I first started keeping fish.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know that was even a thing. I just thought everybody got their fish at Petco or PetSmart or whatever.
Well, I think even from the standpoint of like Petco and PetSmart, those kind of count. Like obviously they're big chain stores or whatever, but I think it's still like the local spot that you can go to.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. 'Cause otherwise, like if you don't have that, your options are to ship everything in.
Right.
Which is
pretty daunting if you're like, oh, I want to get a fish tank, but I've never seen one.
Mm-hmm.
Should I get 100-gallon? Right? You'd be like, oh my God, this thing's way bigger than I thought it was. Like I think there's a real side to like people being able to interact with the products that they're trying to get.
Right.
Like I don't think it's too desperate in like clothing, right? Whereas like you go onto like Steve's Clothing Emporium online and you're like, oh, I really like those pants. You kind of know what your size is or whatever, but you order them up, they show up, oh, they don't fit, you can just send them back.
Yeah.
Like it's not a big deal because it's virtually indestructible in the mail is like a pair of pants, right?
Right.
But like if you've never like interfaced with an actual aquarium like in person, and you go, well, I want to order this thing. You order it. It comes shipped in a crate. It's like this huge to do. The UPS guy is like super pissed off, or FedEx, or the Postal Service, whoever's bringing it is like, I'm the special giant container guy. Like, I bring big stuff in my big van, you know?
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, hey, whoops, this is too big. I guess I'm going to send it back now. Like, via, you know, like $180 charge to like send it back or whatever.
Right.
So I think it's like, it's really important for people to be able to interface to like get into the hobby. I think that's like wildly important.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
Ooh, I'm going to buy Steve's pants.
Yeah. And it really is a different thing. If you're looking online, well, I don't know. Let's roll the time back and let's think about before online was a thing, right?
When was that?
The early 90s and before then. And so it's like, if you're wanting to get fish, what do? Go to the creek? You've never seen any other kinds of fish?
You just go outside.
Yeah, you just go outside. Or you get like National Geographic or something like that.
Ooh, if you're like Florida Man, you could have just gone outside.
That's true.
Yeah, Florida Man goes outside.
Florida Man just goes outside. Or you could know somebody who knows somebody who knows somebody and get fish that way. Or through magazines, maybe?
Magazines.
Like Amazonia?
Well, here's the thing. Like, I fully understand that, like, 30 years ago, everything was a pain in the ass, right?
Yeah.
Like, and I think you get that, too. But we don't live back then.
I know.
We live meow.
I know.
And I get, like, people could definitely go online and check out, like, a lot of information, like, while they're online. But I don't think it's necessarily the same as actually going to a store, looking around, seeing what's going on. Like, and I think, like, from my own perspective, how often people ask me questions about substrate, for instance, in their aquarium, right?
Yeah.
It's like they've never seen it.
Yeah.
And so they're like, well, $40. I don't know. I guess if I order a $40 bag of something, I should send off a bunch of emails about it, or a message on YouTube videos about, like, what's it like? What does it do? I heard that it breaks, you know, and you're like,
I heard
but
that
there's
you
not
have
enough
to replace it.
But apparently there's not enough stores. There's not enough stores where people could go and, like, actually interface with the YouTube video that they're watching, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, well, I guess I'm just going to ask and be, like, inquisitive that way, which is fine. Like, a lot of my interactions are online now. Y'all got COVID and stuff, right?
Yeah, just like clinging to you.
I mean, you all had germs all over you before.
Right. But for some reason, it didn't seem as important at the time.
Yeah, it's true. True. But like, you know, from that standpoint, is like people are constantly asking me questions about stuff, and it's like there's just really not a chance for people to go interface with it. And like, having been to Europe and, like, gone to the stores there, like, even their Petco and PetSmart and stuff like that were way higher quality than the ones here, which is fine. But people could go and they could look around at plants and do whatever and that kind of stuff and be like, oh, yeah, I'm interested in that one, you know. And the people there could answer questions and stuff in a good, solid way, which I think more often than not, like, the mom and pops local stores could generally give better advice than the big chain stores or whatever. But I don't know if that really, like, plays a hand in anything that's going on nowadays, because I just think that, like, this is kind of distinctly a hobby that, like, if you haven't interfaced with any of the products ahead of time, like going to a store, you just people are just kind of buying stuff and then getting discouraged, right? Because they don't.
Yeah.
And I know that I tell people, like, join up in the local fish club or whatever. I don't know if they do. Because, like, I know that, like, the fish tank barn is a perfect example of somebody who's in a club. He's got, like, a community going and that kind of stuff. But I just wonder, how many other people actually are, like, in their local club. Because you're in the local club.
Yeah.
I'm not.
Yeah.
So I don't even know if I'm
You're
preaching
not
to
even
the choir.
taking your own advice.
Well, I don't like going to stuff. They want me to go to stuff and, like, do things.
And you don't like doing things.
No, I don't like doing things either. Which is weird because, like, you and I were talking about it earlier, where it's like this hobby is distinctly a hobby for isolated people, right? Like, well, art is a good parallel, right?
Yep.
So if you're somebody that paints, like you do paintings like I do, you're just, like, not around people for a good amount of time because you know what I mean? Like, you're not at a cocktail party while doing a painting. You know what I mean?
Right.
You're not doing those same hobbies at the same time.
Yeah.
You're like, I'm going to spend time by myself painting on a thing, or by myself in the fish room, like, not really being around people. Like, I like people. I like being around people and stuff like that. But also at the same time, like, most of the stuff I do just doesn't interface with other people. Right? Like, it's just, and I've noticed that a lot from meeting so many people in this hobby that somebody like Oliver Knott, right, is distinctly unique because he's, like, super outgoing, like, he's all super excited to see people and stuff like that. Like, he's definitely unique within the hobby because he's, like, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, and there's a lot of very shy people in the club. Like, they show up,
Right.
they go, and they're very shy. And that's fine. Like, going to the club meetings and stuff is, like, their bit of interaction that they can deal with. And honestly, I'm pretty shy, actually. I know I don't always appear shy.
I don't think that's true. It's not true.
Okay.
It's a lie. You're a liar. That's what you are.
A lying liar face.
I'm just kidding. Well, yeah, I've definitely noticed that from going to club meetings and stuff. There's a lot of people that they're like, I guess you could say that they're shy. And that's probably a totally decent explanation or whatnot. But also at the same time, it's like, I don't know how to explain it. It's a distinct group of people, though.
Right.
Right.
For me, it's like if I'm in a situation,
I guess the thing that I was trying to say is that, like, a store setting is a non-intrusive way to go and be a part of the hobby.
Yeah.
Right? Is that, like, you can go to a store and just kind of hang around and be like, oh, I'm just kind of looking, whatever. And that's sort of all the interaction that you'd really get is just like, oh, I'm just looking around. No, I don't need any help yet or whatever. And you could just go kind of, like, wander around and look at the stuff and, like, oh, what's that? What's this? And get kind of an idea of what you're doing. Whereas, like, a club meeting could be weird for somebody who's shy, right?
Yeah.
Because, like, you're basically going there to meet people, and it's like, what do you want to meet these people for? If you're shy, you don't want to do that.
Technically. So my first couple of meetings, I didn't know anybody. I didn't know if these people were going to be super weird.
Right.
I didn't know.
Which is true. They
what
are.
But it's a kind of weird that I can understand.
No.
For me.
No.
Okay.
We disagree. People are saying chat's not working in the chat.
Oh, Steve.
Seems to be working. Uh-oh, people are messaging you. Or is that me?
That's you.
Crap, people are calling me on my phone?
That's weird.
Ring, 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 banana phone. Uh-oh, Steve sent a video.
Uh-oh.
Maybe it's not working at all.
That's weird. That's additionally weird. But thanks for becoming a member for 18 months, Paula. But anyway, yeah. So it took me a little while before people started to be able to, before I started to be able to interact.
All right, Steve's chat is messed up.
That's sad. That Steve's chat is messed up.
Yeah, I don't know why Steve's chat is messed up, but it looks like, this looks like you need to update your phone from this video. Yeah, I think you need to update. I think you need to update something in your phone. It seems like something is weird with your phone, Steve, since you sent me that video.
Yeah.
Probably. We probably do. Actually, it's a good point, Rumbus. We probably do need a super chat to say that.
Yep.
Probably true.
Probably.
Yeah. But I'm sorry. I got totally distracted by the chat not working.
Right. And I think we're getting off track by calling people shy in the hobby.
There's a lot of distinct weirdos in the chat. Okay.
And in the hobby, too.
I mean, in the hobby is what I meant to say.
But the thing is in my opinion, the best thing in life is to find the kind of weirdos that you vibe with.
Right. See, I don't like.
Everybody's weird.
Here's ultimately my issue is that like I'm an extroverted introvert. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Like I spend most of my time being introverted, and then when it comes time to be extroverted and like deal with other people, it's just way too much for them to handle. Like they're just like, oh, what is going on? What is with this guy? This guy's crazy. And I'm like, yes, you're correct, but I'm just trying to be friendly right now, and I don't know how. But what? You know,
I thought I was just being friendly, but instead I come off as a maniac.
Right. Which is probably, you know, it is what it is, right? Mm-hmm. Like, what are you going to do there? But
right.
But yeah, I guess what it boils down to is like I think that even for just the average person in the hobby already, that the local fish store is probably the most important thing to try and maintain.
Oh yeah.
Like as we want the hobby to continue moving forward, it's like it's great that we got YouTube channels, we got Facebook pages, we got online resources, we can order stuff online, we got Amazon, we got Aquarium Co-op, we got I don't know, any of those other websites you could order stuff off of, right?
Yeah.
We got all that stuff going, and that's great, and it's a great, I think all those things are great resources for doing stuff, but I still think in my heart of hearts that the local store that you can go to is probably the most important factor to try and like keeping it going, because it's a non-intrusive way to like go interface with these things that you want to get involved with, right? Like, if you want to get involved with dogs, you could go to the dog pound. Like, there's just a bunch of stray dogs that need you to take them for walks and stuff.
Right.
Right. You could go work with whatever animals you want to. Whereas, like, a South American cichlid is not just in your stream, right? Like, it's not just outside. Like, oh.
Unless you're in Florida.
Well, Florida man doesn't count. I mean, listen.
Sorry, Zip Gun.
We can't just, you know, like we can't cater to everybody. Sorry, Texas and Florida, we can't cater to you. I'm sorry.
I hear all these stories like, oh, I'm in the Costco parking lot and here's this like ditch and oh, there's a bunch of angelfish in it. Like, okay.
Yeah, but that's also bad. That's also
I know.
Extraordinarily bad.
I know.
That's not a good thing.
I
That's
know
not a good
it's
thing
bad.
to have happening.
I know it's bad.
Dude,
but it's also very interesting.
The common plecos are killing off the manatees.
I am aware.
Can you deal with that psychologically?
Can
you wrap your brain around that and somehow think the planet's going the right direction? Because I can't.
I just need people to start eating the dang things, not the manatees.
Eating manatees?
Not the manatees.
People are going to get that twisted, dude.
I know.
Yeah, don't eat a manatee.
No, eat
Very bad.
Eat them big old plecos.
Eat a big pleco.
Yeah.
Pleco stew, man.
Get
That's
them
how the
Cajuns on
Peruvians
it.
survive.
Get the Cajuns on it.
That's how the Peruvians survive. They
yeah.
just pleco stew. Seriously.
Mm-hmm.
I posted a picture about it. We caught that big ass pleco when we were down there, and the boys on the boat were straight up like, cut it up, throw it in the pot, because they eat that fish. They eat this. It's like so in the United States was the same way. In the Europe it was the same way. China it was the same way. Everywhere it's been that way, where you just had a big pot and you just cook stuff in it, and you would eat it. That's what that song, what is it? Beans in the pot in the kettle and it's 5 days old or whatever. How's that song
go? Peas porridge hot, peas porridge cold, peas porridge in the hot, 9 days old.
Yeah. Yeah, because that's what that song's all about, right? And so that's what they did. So they would just catch all these plecos and sort of bottom feeder type fish and whatnot. They're all super bony and like hard to cut up and all that stuff. Yeah. So they would just cut them up, gut them, throw them in the pot, eat it up, salt, Yeah. Like there you go. And they pretty much were just living off that kind of stuff. So, it's definitely doable.
Yeah.
But is Florida man gonna take the appropriate steps?
No, you need Louisiana man.
Bayou man?
Yeah.
We need Bayou man to take over for Florida man?
Yeah.
Florida man's tripping.
Florida man can ship them off to Bayou man.
Florida man's probably on something already.
Yeah,
and just doesn't have time. Doesn't have time to figure it out. Yeah, Steve says says stupid chat. Stupid chat quit working. Which almost sounds like super chat, right? Yeah, I'm not sure what's going on, Steve. You sent me a video. Hopefully you can it looks like you need to update something with your phone. New local Austin says pleco porridge hot. Good point. Florida man, flex. Florida is the exception that proves the rule. Yeah, it's pretty true.
Pretty much.
New local Austin says, I'm extroverted and I find doing the work by myself is the hardest part. I could totally understand that. I could get behind that. I mean, I've mentioned personally from my own standpoint that like working by myself is getting incredibly old.
Yeah.
That I definitely do want to be able to start teaming up on some projects. I don't know how to make that happen in a way that works for everybody, though. You know what I mean? Like, is it weird?
No, that's not weird.
Like, I don't know if there's even enough time in the day to do anything. To get all that kind of stuff done. And how would it like work for other people? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I have a good friend of mine that really wants to film stuff and is like super motivated to do it, but then they're like super busy all the time. And you're like, but hey, do you want to do that thing? And they're like, yeah. And then you're like, okay, when? And you're like, I don't know. I'm super busy. You're like, okay, word. Like, got it. Right?
Right. Yeah, that makes sense. And you have all the filming and video things that you want to do. I, being the weirdo, I'm just like, I just want to breed all my fish and then sell them to stores.
Right. Which is cool.
And then I want to talk about my fish.
Yeah. Did you, because you did that yesterday, right?
Oh, yeah.
So like yesterday you spent all day interfacing with local fish stores, like trying to, well, I guess not trying to, but like actually just selling some fish to some local jammers, right?
Yeah. Like I had somebody who lived near to that store was like, you've never sold to this store before? And I was like, no. And the guy up there, he's like, oh, email this person, tell them I sent you. And I was like, okay. And then I, let the owner of the place know what I had. And she was like, well, that sounds amazing. I'll get back to you. And I was like, okay, cool. Radio silence for like 2 weeks because the area was being flooded.
Yeah. The floods are bad, dude.
Yeah, floods are bad. But then she set up. She's like, actually, can you come up on Thursday and bring these fish and these shrimp? And I was like, yes, I can. She's like, how much do you want for them? And then me being me, I said 25% of what you would sell them for in the store. She goes, okay, let's do it. And so I came home with a decent amount of money. And,
$1 billion.
$1 billion. I am
Rich.
now debt free, and I'm gonna fly to space.
That's the weird thing. You're super rich, bro. I don't think people know that.
Right.
I don't think people know that about you, that you're super duper rich.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, because I'm selling fish.
Hell yeah, man.
Which is cool. What fish did you sell yesterday?
I sold a whole bunch of L180 plecos. With, little. I don't even know what their common name is, and they don't have a species name yet. But I've been calling them peppermints. I'm not sure if that's what they're actually called. And I sold just three Snow Whites, just 3, because she wasn't sure if they would sell, and I was like, well, I hope they do. And and a whole bunch of Blue Dream shrimp, bunch of Painted Fire Reds, and you put like a little plant in to get them something to hold on to. I put in a little bit of guppy grass in each one of those. She's like, is this guppy grass? And I was like, yeah. And she goes, do you have more guppy grass? I was like, well, not here.
Yeah, not in your car.
And she's like, cause we need guppy grass. And I was like, really? Okay, well, next time I'll bring some. I'll bring you a lot.
A bunch.
Yeah.
A bunch of crunchy guppy grass.
Right. And it was really funny. And I need to go to the bathroom.
Regular guy says, does pleco taste anything like our North American catfish? Yes, I would say that pleco has a pretty strong like catfish jam to it. Really, like I think if there was a category to put it in, it's definitely right along the line of YouTube is not receiving enough data to continue the stream. So I don't know. Guess you guys will tell me if the stream dies or not, or maybe it won't. Who knows? Why would it be poor? Oh, now it's excellent again. Well, YouTube sent us a notification to tell us that it was poor, and then now it's excellent. So I don't know. Anyhow, but yeah, catfish and pleco it's right in the same vein. But New Local Austin said there's only one way to find out. I will catch one on my line 10 to 24 inches. I will try it. Yeah, it's right in that zone of catfish flavor. I mean, they're obviously feeding on mostly the exact same diet. The diet's really not that far off from each other, so I'd be right in there. Just one of the downsides is it is fairly bony and whatnot. So if you're gonna go about eating it that way, one of the things that we saw like in Peru is that you basically gut the fish and then just lay it out and roast it that way, and then eat it that way. And that seemed to be kind of the easy way to kind of, tear it apart and eat at it. I mean, I know it's kind of a weird discussion to be like, well, eating the fish, you want to eat it this way, blah, blah, blah. But it just, we all need to eat food, and a lot of us are meat eaters around here. So it just seems to be like one of the few solutions to the Florida problem with the plecos down there. It's just getting wildly out of hand with what's going on down there. because the manatees they need protection. The manatees do need protection. They can't protect themselves. Have you seen them? They just so cute, and they're just bonking around down there, and they can't protect themselves. They don't know how. They don't got no big teeths or nothing. They ain't got no big teeths. What was that? Oh my god, that was a scary noise. I just heard like a weird noise. I don't know what that was. I don't know. Anyhow, Alyssa went to the bathroom. She'll be back. But hey, we got to do the hey, become a member and become a patron or buy stuff on Amazon or whatever. Even though I'm literally today talking about like not buying stuff on Amazon. Maybe there's a product that your local store doesn't carry and you can't get it there, and maybe you got to go to Amazon to get it. Like this right here. Here we go. This is what's currently open on my Amazon page. I'll share a link to it. It's the brand new DeWalt Max Atomic Brushless Lithium Ion 5/8 inch cordless SDS Plus rotary hammer tool. And what's interesting about this is that I was thinking about upgrading my current roto hammer to this version. This one doesn't seem to have the jackhammer option. It has only the drilling and drill hammer options, which is just a real bummer as far as I'm concerned, because I'm like, that does nothing for me, you know? I'm like, I need it to do jackhammering also, otherwise it's a tool I would never buy. And also, I got to remind people to hit that like button or this video just goes away, and it will only remain for members and patrons. That's how this goes around here. If you don't get 100 likes. If it doesn't get 100 likes, I just send it off to the ether. And somebody said that's really aggressive. That's really aggressive that you would do that. And I'm like, why choose the non-aggressive route? Right?
Be aggressive.
Yeah. Just like
aggressive.
Have you heard the Faith No More version of that?
No, and I feel like I want to.
It's pretty awesome.
I'll look it up later so we don't get demonetized for that purpose.
That's true. We might get a copyright strike.
Copyright strike. Since we're clapping today.
Well, we probably would just get a copyright claim. We wouldn't get a copyright strike. We'd get a claim for like, hey, we want money for you using that song.
Yeah. What were we talking about? Tools?
I don't know. You left.
I know.
It went off the rails. The show went wildly off the rails. Which is not that big of a deal because I was just talking about how you I guess we died. It might be it for today. Do 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 boo 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 doo 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 doo. All right, it says it's going again now. I don't know if we're live again. It looks like we're live again because I'm moving around on the screen.
Freezy Steam.
Yeah. I don't know.
Sickles.
I switched the server that we're broadcasting from. So it should be okay now. We'll see.
Sweet.
We were broadcasting out of San Francisco. Now we're broadcasting out of Seattle.
Oh man.
Yeah.
Good.
What the?
Like I didn't even answer Sharpie's question earlier.
What's that?
Well, really before this stream even started, he asked if he can expect some long fin and short fin super reds from his mixed heritage breeding of long fin and short fin super reds, and it all depends on your. I didn't remember if it was the male or the female who's long fin, but it depends on whether your long fin super red is heterozygous or homozygous for the long fin gene. So if that fish is homozygous for it, then all of your babies are going to be long fin. And if they're heterozygous for it, then half the babies should be roughly long fin and half should be short. Because the long fin gene is dominant. Now, the long fin and the short fin gene do not affect the color. You should get all super red. And there's that. One thing I don't know yet is whether breeding super red and the calico red together, what that produces. But it's okay, because I have a couple of calico reds. I'm growing them up, and I will find out.
You'll let us know in a couple years.
Yes. Well, in maybe a year.
That's forever. Do you realize that's forever in internet time?
That is, in fact, forever in internet time.
God,
That's
people
true.
are having
a
a heart
lot of
attack.
things could have happened in that.
People are having heart attacks, dude.
Yeah.
Joel G says everything's working from New Zealand, and that's a long wire.
That is a really long wire, man.
That is a long wire. I don't know if... New Zealand doesn't have a direct wire from the United States, but I wonder what... Because those undersea wires, you've seen them drop those things down.
Yeah, I know they go across the Atlantic.
Well, they go across the Pacific, too, I think.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe not. Maybe they don't.
I don't know.
Maybe it's all just satellites.
Maybe it just goes across the Atlantic and then it stretches in wires across the globe that way on the surface.
Yeah, just like a whole bunch of telephone poles. Forever.
Like the one that is being brushed lightly by trees in my backyard right now.
Well, sounds like you got some tree work to do.
Oh, yeah, I need to
You were pretty excited about my lawn earlier today.
I was. It looks
you were
all
geeking
fresh.
out. You were
Looks all
geeking
fresh.
You're just geeking out over the lawn, dude.
Yeah, I know. I think it's a sign of age and home ownership.
It's a sign of age, that's for sure. You're getting old, dude.
I don't have my New Balance shoes or anything, but you know.
We're gonna green these babies up. Oh my god. Yeah, the lawn looks good. We got some stuff going on there. Got stuff going on around the house. You can hear our homie Thomas up there bonking around, opening doors.
Yeah.
What's he doing? He doesn't know.
Yeah, he doesn't. He didn't know that we were down here doing a thing.
Yeah, he's our local buddy. He's
Nice.
He's helping out with some handyman stuff. He's a local handyman, so that's what he does.
Sweet.
Yep.
Oh, real quick with Sharpies. Okay, it sounds like your long fin is heterozygous for the long fin gene, so you probably would expect about 50% of your fry to be long fin, provided they, survive. I'm assuming they will. We'll just assume that they will. And if, she will have bred with the common, and all the babies will be common. And even if you take one of those common babies and breed with her again, they'll still all be common. 100%. I'm currently about 6 months out from being able to find out if breeding the 75% super red and 25% common back to super red again still produces all commons, but we'll find out. That's the next one.
Yeah.
I need more tanks, man. Otherwise, how can I do all my crazy science experiments?
True. True. Maybe.
Well, I'll get there. It's fine. It's in the plans.
Huh? Oh, okay. Anyhow, yeah. Well, so I mean, I guess if you're trying to figure out like the variation, so what's the breeding variation then that we're looking for to try and get long fins? Like, which groups are we trying to breed? If you were just sort of to generalize that, right?
Bristle noses in general.
Just in general.
If they already have long fins, then they they'll produce longfin.
That's it.
Yeah.
You're
that's
just
it.
yeah. So you're just looking for the physical characteristic and just going off that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I suspect that it was a found mutation.
Right. So it was, yeah. So it's just like with the shrimp.
Yeah.
You're just basically like going off of visual stuff.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. But it has been found to be a dominant trait.
Yeah. Oh,
So.
Steve Bear teaches. Look at that. It's working again.
Huh.
He sounds like he uninstalled, then reinstalled, even though it said it was all good and updated. It's like it's working again. Yeah, it just looked like you had like a like something was out of date or whatever, and it was just malfunctioning.
Yeah.
Sharpie says, I'll have enough on my hands with over 200 plecos a month until the lemon blue eyes start up.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's one of those things that like, that's really one of the big issues with me with like fish breeding is like dealing with all of the fish. You know, it's like, what are you going to do? Because I don't want to throw any of them out. And even though it would be technically reasonable to like feed them to the chickens, I still don't want to do that.
Yeah. You get like a weird.
It's weird vibes.
Yeah, it's like weird vibes about it. But
do you think I feed rats to my chickens?
Well, I think rats maybe would come in and then the chickens would just eat them.
They generally don't attack them that much.
Oh.
Yeah. You need a rooster for that.
Oh.
Rooster attack. But they would if they could get them, they'd eat them.
Mm-hmm. They just get all like, just like a tiny Tyrannosaurus Rex.
Right. Paula says, I'm hating my local mom and pop local fish store. They will sell anything to anyone. And that's honestly like one of the big issues that you run into is that like running a store is extremely expensive these days. Like it really is. And you do find places that will just kind of choose money over everything else, right? And that's a problem, right? And that's like a real issue that I think we all kind of have to try and figure out exactly how we can like how do we interface with that? Because it's like the idea is, well, don't give them any money then, you know, just vote with your money.
The problem is
but
that then that takes away their agency to make decisions that are better.
Right.
Yeah, I don't know. It's weird. It's a weird situation to be in.
Right.
Because, like, you need money to live. And we're in a situation where we can't put principles over money all the time. Like sometimes.
Right. Well, I mean, it's like 99% of the time you can't, you know, like we're all beholden to this like economic structure that we all have to live in. Which I think you and I were talking about that a little bit earlier. It's like we can't, like, how are we going to make changes from this kind of stuff if the changes don't start to happen?
Right.
Because you can't do the dramatic change because nobody's going to sign up for that, right?
Yeah.
But, like, how do we influence monetarily into the stores trying to make the right decisions when they're likely just going out of business and we don't even have any, you know, we don't have anything implemented in place to, like, protect any of the small stores, let alone just fish stores, like just any of the small stores.
Right. Well, and then, and as Aubrey says, they're selling experience. And yeah, that's very true. And if you think about it, like when you're just starting out, you don't know stuff. You don't know what you don't know. Right.
I still don't know what I don't know.
Right. It's weird. And like I had a acquaintance who obviously knew that I kept fish.
Mhm.
People know. And she was like, I think that keeping a fish tank would be a really good educational experience for my child. And I was like, probably, yeah. Just know that your kid is 6, and so you're going to need to do the work on it. And she's like, yeah, I know. And I was like, cool. It's like, if you need assistance with it, let me know. But, you can also look up a lot of stuff online. She's like, cool. And she says, I don't want to do live plants because I don't want to have to do more water changes for those, to keep those live plants. And I was like, that's the opposite of what live plants do. She's like, no, I read it. And I was like, oh, all right. And I don't know how that tank ended up going, but she was doing everything the exact opposite of what I would have suggested.
Mm-hmm.
She did the exact opposite. She ran.
Was she doing that because she was just being contrary to your advice, or was it just like that's what was going on?
I don't really know. She's one of those people with questionable results from research online, shall we say? Yeah.
She remember reading a lot of Gwyneth Paltrow articles.
Yeah. And and I just
She buying a lot of candles that are suspiciously scented.
And she's like, I'm just gonna buy glowfish, and we're gonna run a UV filter, and we're gonna make sure to do all this chemical stuff, and I don't think we should ever have to change the water, so we're just gonna dump all these chemicals in, and all the gravel is gonna be painted this and that and whatever. And I was like, all right, you're just gonna have like a fish rave. Cool.
Somebody try to go to a fish rave at some point in time. There's gonna be a lot of people drowning. You know what I mean? It's just not safe.
Yeah.
Damn. Yeah. It's like the unfortunate thing. It's the SpongeBob adage. You know what I mean? Like, you kind of run into the SpongeBob problem with a lot of people that are kind of. And I can say from my personal experience, when I was a kid, we had the SpongeBob problem ourselves, where it was we take the gravel out and we wash it in soap and then bleach water everything and all that kind of stuff. And so, but I honestly think that the only way to kind of bridge getting away from that is
rest in peace, my childhood goldfish.
Obviously, yeah. Obviously, I've put a lot of energy and effort into trying to, spread information on the internet, right? I feel like that obviously I can reach the biggest audience, so that's kind of why I do it that way. But I think the reality of the average person is interacting with a store is kind of the best way to do that. You go to the store, you can go there, you can talk with people that are at least more knowledgeable than you. They could get reasonable advice. Then we also kind of run into the problem with Paula, Paula's saying that the local fish store is probably not doing all that well, and they might just be selling stuff just to sell stuff so that they can pay their bills and whatnot, right?
Right.
So I really feel like it's a big catch-22 of we got to support the store, but if the store has terrible if the store has terrible policies and whatnot going on it, are you just promoting more of those terrible policies by shopping at that store? And then it's stop giving them the money, but then they lose out on the money. So they could never even make a change if they wanted to, because they're this is the only way we're able to make any money, right? Which is unfortunate, because you see that from the big chains in the first place, is that the big chain stores are literally trying to make you be a return customer regardless of needing product or not. It's you should use all these chemicals. You should use this. You should, hey, buy this super cheap aquarium and buy this thing that we marked down so that you'll come back and buy more stuff. And hopefully I'm not saying that they hope that the fish are going to die, but if they sell you really poor quality fish, you're probably not going to be able to keep them alive, which means you're going to come back and buy more, which means you're probably going to end up buying some dog treats while you're there and some other thing. And, we ran out of this, so I got to get more so I can dump it into here, and it's like you said with your friend, we want to try to build an aquarium that we don't have to do a water change. And it's like, but the issue is that like those are people that are going into the hobby knowing that water changes are a thing, but like not wanting to do some of the major aspects of the hobby, which is like doing maintenance on a thing, which is like getting a bird, but you don't want to clean the bird cage.
Right.
Or like getting a dog, but you don't want to scoop the poop out of the yard, know, but it's like getting a cat, but you don't want to clean the litter box. It's like, well, these are all essential parts of like having this animal. It's like, I'm going to get a horse, but I don't want to muck the stall. It's like, well, now your horse is just standing around in horse shit and going to get sick, right? And then now you got a sick horse, which means you're probably going to get sick because who knows what the hell's going on there.
Let me introduce you to this stuffed animal cat.
Yeah.
You can pet it whenever you want.
Which is kind of interesting because I've definitely been to the gamut of fish stores. Like I've been to a lot of different ones around. I've been to good ones. I've been to bad ones. I've been to hole in the walls. I've been, like the only reason I bring up Corey is I see him in the chat, but Corey and I were talking about this. One of our local stores that was literally like the Mogwai shop. Like if you've ever seen Gremlins, and that Gremlins movie, he goes into this part of the International District, which in the movie it's called Chinatown. It's this crazy dark shop where there's this weird old guy running the store, and you like, hey, what's that thing behind the counter? And it turns out it's the Mogwai. It's with the Gremlins. It's a horror movie, right? But that store, we used to call it the Mogwai shop because it was like the insanity of that movie set in real life. And I don't know if that guy ever gave out a good piece of advice to anybody that ever came in. I don't know. Because I never asked him for advice because I didn't want anything that I was doing to end up looking like that store.
Right.
Right. So I don't know if he was giving out good advice or not. I just would literally always go there because it was just such
I've
a
never
disaster.
been there, but the best piece of description that I've ever heard of for that particular store was the tank that was on a stand that was listing to the side because it was wet. It had rotted a little bit. And so it was being propped up by books that were also wet. And so it was sagging. So it was propped up by more books.
Right. But it was like, it wasn't books. It was like phone books. It was like, it wasn't like, oh, a nice leather-bound book. It was like, oh, here's some magazines that were free down at the 7-Eleven or whatever, and like we lifted that up and stuffed them under there, and it's like, yeah, it's kind of level now. Yeah, it's fine. And then those just got wet and continue to do that.
Yep.
Yeah, it's like one of those weird, I don't know, it's one of those weird aspects of like attempting to have an opinion about something when you're not necessarily engaged in it. It's really weird because like we want to support the local mom and pops, but it's so difficult to do it when like Amazon has a Black Friday sale or whatever other website. I can't even think of any websites right now, but everybody's got a Black Friday sale. Everybody's got a this, everybody's got a that. And then when you actually go to the store, whether or not your opinion as a customer is very influential or not.
Yeah.
And so like one of the reasons why like I try to encourage more people to make like a YouTube channel of just like, what's your local area like? Like, is there something that you want to promote, or is it all just a failure? So like, I have the first half of the video made. I have to go shoot in the other half of the video, but like, some friends of the channel, which I've made some videos about them in the past, like down in Oregon, like they opened a local fish store that is just literally focused on trying to do good practices at all times, just kind of regardless of that you may or may not be seen as in a negative light, but they're like, look, we just have to try and do the right thing all the time. But I think that's really like few and far between. Like I don't think, and a lot of the fish store owners that I've met in the past are all pretty old. Like it's pretty rare to go somewhere like Corey, because what's Corey's like 40 or something like that. 40 would be considered pretty young for like almost every store owner I've ever met. And
Right.
I know that there are some young ones getting into it, but it's not the same percentage, I would think.
Yeah, I don't think so. Whenever I see an owner, and it's not like Corey, for instance, who I have actually seen with my own 2 eyeballs probably twice in my life.
Well, you were at the co-op yesterday, the store.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Corey doesn't hang out there.
No.
Yeah, like I said.
Robert's there.
Yeah, Robert's there.
Who was working yesterday? Robert and Jaden? I think that feels right.
I don't know, tall guy.
I don't know. I've been down there working on the new store. I think that's Jaden. Yeah.
Yeah, I try to keep up with
I don't know, everybody that
names
works-
of everybody, but
Everybody
there's so
that
many
works
now.
at the co-op has a different vibe than a lot of other stores I've been to. Like a lot of people, there's like stoked to work there, which is cool. I think is really cool. I think it's a good sign.
Yeah, I do like that. So far, I have not walked in and just found the people there, like,
Right.
why am I here?
Petco has that vibe.
I wasn't even supposed to be here today.
Right.
That's a
Petco
deep
has
cut.
that shoe polish. Petco has those shoe polish smelling. Shoe polish smelling motherfucker. I'm not even supposed to be here, Steve Dave. Yeah. I think did you hear they're shooting a new Clerks?
I think I did.
Yeah. And it's like everybody's older now and like this is what's going on now.
Yeah.
The exact amount of years later. I should be funny because I think Rosario Dawson's even in it and everybody.
Huh.
Like everybody was in it. But aside from that sidebar, the Clerks sidebar.
Sorry, we're old, man.
Yeah, I mean, but the thing is, like, I've been to stores that have that same vibe. So, like, when we were in Michigan, one of the stores we went to, and I cannot remember the name of it for the life of me, but, like, we went there and everybody was, like, super zazzed that worked there, too.
Mm-hmm.
And, of course, like, I think it reflected in the, like, the fish tanks look nice. You know, like, the place wasn't cluttered. There wasn't stuff all over the place, like, just a disaster. It didn't smell bad.
Yeah.
Which I've been to a lot of stores where you're like, oh, man, it is just dank up in here. Like, what's going on, dude? So, yeah, I mean, I don't necessarily have, like, the answer.
Whoa,
you know.
hold on, real quick. We just talked about a movie, and Dennis has seen it.
It's a weird moment. I understand.
Okay.
If we had a bell, we would ring it right now. We don't have a bell. Do we have a gong? We don't have a gong either.
There's some tape.
My soundboard's not hooked up. My soundboard's not hooked up right now. Yeah, it's crazy. Dennis has seen the movie. What's going on?
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry. I don't know what we were talking about.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know what we were talking about anymore. But like I don't have like a distinctive I don't have a distinctive answer other than like you know, really patronizing type stuff to say to like have your store be really nice and in good shape and blah 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 blah, blah and that kind of stuff. But you know, obviously I think it's like a big cultural shift or not in how people are like running the stores and like how could we imagine to support the stores. Like Corey, what was Corey saying? Corey said he said, in my experience, I donated 3 months' time at my local fish store. I did get hired on. However, I was able to show the change I wanted to see at the time. See, like, and the thing is that, like, I don't know if people can afford to do that or not. Like, I don't know if people could afford to do that or if your donated time would be seen as something of value from the average store owner or whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
It's hard to say. It's hard to say if they actually would value that or not. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, would they? I don't know. Maybe. I'd happily work with them part-time. Then after you're seen as a helping opinion can make a suggestion and change the way the store is being handled. Hobbyists are enjoying what they do at the store. Maybe you could try that. Yeah, I mean, I think that's a good point. I just wonder if people actually have time to volunteer.
Yeah.
That would be my first. That would be my first like barrier. Would be like, I'm not sure if people actually have the time to just commit to being like, oh, I'll be here every Saturday to help out the store. But that might actually be one of the most helpful things that you could do for your local store is just donate, a day or a half a day. Like, hey, can I come help? Like just help. Like I'll clean or whatever, and that might, realistically for the average person out there, that might actually be a really good experience too, to also learn about things that like maybe you want to change how you're running your setups and stuff like that. Like,
Right.
Because I do know that like things changed for me when I was basically volunteering with one of the stores I worked at, and I definitely I adapted and changed some of the processes that I was doing. Like my water change was like, I never really thought about using utility pumps and that kind of stuff like in that manner before that. Like when you drive around and do maintenance and stuff, like you have a certain way of that you have to be able to do it. Taking around garbage cans on wheels and stuff like that. Like people weren't really doing that 15, 20 years ago. They just weren't.
Oh.
Like it might be commonplace now. Like,
What were they doing 15, 20 years ago?
what do you mean? Like in their home fish rooms and stuff?
No, I mean, if they weren't doing the garbage can on
Buckets,
wheels.
buckets.
Oh,
Like
okay.
everybody was doing buckets.
So
That's why people don't like
still
doing
do.
water changes, because they carry around 5-gallon buckets.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They are heavy, but they help build up your body strength.
I guess you just lift weights if you want to do that.
I
You
do.
Get jacked.
Filled with water.
Getting jacked.
Yeah, man.
I don't know. I like all that kind of stuff to be automated now. I'm just saying that like my specific stuff changed, like interacting with the store and like doing maintenance on tanks and like dealing with other people's systems and stuff like that. So maybe it is, maybe that is something that's beneficial. Maybe you have like a Tuesday off that you're just like, I don't really have anything to do. Let me see if I can help out the local guy or whatever. Because
Yeah.
I think technically you can volunteer at stores. Like they don't have to pay you. I don't know what comes down with that. The legality of like a business having people volunteer time or whatever. Like I don't know how that works with their insurance or liability
don't
or
know.
whatever. Like I'm not sure what that's like. Obviously you'll have to ask and see if that's a possibility or whatever, but that might be like really helpful. Sharpie says, from my experience, the stores with younger owners tend to be more up with what's happening in the hobby, whereas the older ones tend to be stuck in their ways. Yeah, that definitely is a big thing. And I also like really have to come at some of those store owners that have been in business for like 50 years or whatever. And it's like, because I remember the advice they were giving out 20, 25, 30 years ago, which was bleach everything, clean all this stuff, do all that kind of crap. And it's like, have they learned since then? They might have. I don't know.
I don't know.
It's possible.
It is possible. I don't know. If I'm trying to sell fish to a store,
Mm-hmm.
I make sure and walk through the place a few times
Oh.
before I'll agree to even talk to anybody about it.
Oh.
Like I won't even talk to them.
You won't.
I won't tell them that I have fish that I breed. I won't do any of that. I might buy stuff, usually dry goods.
All right. Just going to buy some dry goods.
Yeah, because sometimes, you walk through a store and they're like, oh, I can see right now that those fish right there in that tank that you're charging $100 each for, they're going to die today if you don't do a water change right now. Like 50%, 100%, maybe 300% water change. They need a big water change, and you need to fix your filtration system because that is going to kill them right now.
Oh.
Gold nugget plecos should not be on the front of the glass and up by the top.
Are you sure?
Yes.
Are you sure?
They should be at the bottom and hiding behind something.
It's true. The
Gorgeous
age thing
fish
goes,
that you never see.
Paula says the age thing goes for fish keepers too. Yeah, that's true. Yeah. Which is, not to devalue anybody who's older or whatever. That's not my intention. But I definitely do have to. I'm always kind of skeptical whenever I'm getting advice from somebody. Is like, where's this coming from? Because sometimes, like, I hear a lot of advice that's parroted just for the sake of it being parroted, right? It's just like, well, I heard this, so I just say it now, you know? Which is, I think, the unfortunate, like, which is unfortunately just often how humans work, you know, it's just like how humans function or whatnot. But like, it always kind of makes me wonder with some of the older crowd is like, did you ever actually like read about any of this stuff? Like, did that ever happen? Or are you just kind of going off like, well, I've been around for 100 years now, you know, or whatever the number is. And that's just how we do it, you know? You're like, okay, well, regular guy, I bought a gold nugget at Petco once and never left the top corner and died a week later. That's a bummer.
So gold nuggets are difficult just to get them eating to start. Oftentimes they're wild caught, and so they're used to algae in their native environments, and then they're shipped from Peru or wherever.
Venezuela?
Or Venezuela. I don't know. And
Ecuador?
Possibly.
Argentina?
And they need to be kept
Colombia?
very warm, and
Guatemala?
they don't like hard water. So it's difficult, and they need a well oxygenated environment. I don't know for sure that they necessarily need high flow. A lot of pleco keepers will say that they need high flow because all plecos need high flow, but I mean, I've got one that I've had for 2 or 3 years, and he's just in there with sponge filters. And he's growing, so
Are you saying they need a heavy flow kind of day? Yeah, high flow.
Right.
High flow.
I just, the trickiest part is getting them to start eating, and then to make sure to eat them a high quality food. If you ever decide to get another gold nugget, I would invest in some Bacter AE in order to get enough biofilm on all the surfaces in your tank. And start them on things like really overcooked zucchini, and then transition to Repashy Soylent Green in order to get them their vitamins and nutrients, because they do actually need all that. So yeah, and that will let them grow up and be little badasses that they are. Mine, I also find that they do pretty well living with or alongside bristlenoses, because bristlenoses will just eat whatever, and that just, they see the bristlenoses eating stuff and they go, oh, that must be food, and then they'll just kind of muscle their way in there and be like, get out of the way, babies. And then they'll eat the food. Type of algae that they like the best. So pretty much every grazer will like the You know that like really soft brown algae that new tank syndrome is known for? The what do they call that? Diatom algae. That's a pretty good kind. It's a really soft and really easy to brush off. People who just keep plecos, oftentimes their best friends are people who have like koi ponds with big rocks in them, big flat rocks. And so when the sun beats down on those big flat rocks with all those nitrates and stuff in the koi pond, they can take those gross, disgusting rocks out and put them in the pleco tank, and the plecos will be like, oh, this is delicious, and they'll just eat it, clean off that rock, and they take that rock and they put it back in the koi pond.
That's actually pretty smart. That's a good usage of existing items, right? Yeah, to move that around.
But you gotta have a friend with a koi pond or a goldfish pond or other pond.
Hey?
Or just have one yourself. Or just put rocks in a windowsill in some water.
Right. PetSmart has a dog vibe, that is all. Ah, got it. I want a specific thing to go to 3 stores, not find it, and then order on Amazon. Happens twice a month. Oh, I want a specific thing, then I go to 3 stores and not find it, then order on Amazon. It happens twice a month. From New Local Austin. Yeah, I think that's like one of the issues that we all kind of have to kind of deal with, is that like not every store is going to carry all of the stuff that you're going to want. Although I do know in my experience that almost every store will order the thing that you're looking for. Right? If you came in and you were like, I want this C-Chem product or something, and they're like, oh, we don't carry that. But I think rarely do people actually ask, hey, could you order it? Like, I'll just pay, and then, like, you could order it. Because more often than not, almost every fish store is getting stuff from a wholesaler. So
right.
It's generally going to just, like, come in on a pallet shipment, you know, a week or 2 from now.
Right.
Which, you know, may or may not be something that you can handle as a customer. Like, maybe you need it next day, immediately 20 minutes shipped from Amazon for whatever, right?
Right.
But it definitely could be a possibility if if you're asking, if you're asking about them, they could probably order it for you. That is something. I do know that like a lot of stores will even order fish. Like if you're really interested in a fish and it's something that they can get, they'll sometimes order fish in for you, or you could even just put down a deposit on them and be like, oh, I'll just pay for them ahead of time. That's something that you can do. But then again, like, my interactions with most local fish stores have probably been a little bit different than most people's, I think. Like,
Probably.
it's hard to, like, take away from the last decade or whatever, of having been around, whether or not stores are treating me the same that they would be treating other people.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
I know. It's like going anywhere. Once you're a regular, you get you can sometimes get different kind of treatment. Similar vein, when I first moved to Seattle, there was a really, I thought, very delicious Thai place just on the corner from the place that I lived. And we would end up going there all the time, like at least once a week, right?
Right.
And we got to the point where they would be like, would you like to try this off menu thing? And we're like, yes. And they started feeding us the off menu stuff. And
right.
because we were regulars, we lived, I don't know, 20 feet away from the place.
Right. We were like, yeah, they're just bringing out squid. Here you go.
Yeah. Or it was mango ice cream was the thing they kept.
Mango ice cream.
Yeah.
Who knows about that?
It was amazing. It was really good. Sharpies brings up a good point. Sponge filters. Good.
Oh, yeah. Whether or not stores are using sponge filters
or carrying them.
Or carrying them or having isolated tanks.
Yeah.
I'm a big fan of big aquatic systems.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't think that they're being implemented in the way that would be beneficial for, fish, right? Like having a store that has 900 tanks hooked up to one big sump is just not going to be good for the health of all of the variety of fish that are coming in.
Right.
But that doesn't necessarily mean that a store that just has isolated tanks is doing a good job just because of that. And whether or not those big chain stores can actually operate those systems to actually work properly is a big question too. That's definitely an issue that could be going on. But I'm a big fan of those systems. It's just I don't think that they're being implemented properly. You can't have a bunch of African cichlids mixed in with softwater South American, and everybody just living all in the same water. But if you do have really healthy water that's being heavily filtered and it's all sort of neutral pH, it's probably okay. Like, it's probably not that traumatic for the fish to be, like, a little uncomfortable. But I just really wonder if those systems are even being maintained. Like, I knew people that worked at big stores like that, and they were like, we never did any maintenance on that. It just,
it just goes. I don't know.
Oh, cool. Guess that's what's happening. Like, if that's what's happening, it's not going to be good. It's not going to be good for anybody. So, definitely going to be a problem. Matthew Romero brings up a good point. We need 100 likes. So this random convo amongst fish nerds is preserved on the interwebs forever. We only have 30. That's not enough.
Yeah, it's not enough. And one dislike.
Do we have dislikes?
We have one. Does that count as another like?
The dislike button doesn't work anymore.
I heard that was just a future thing that they were planning on disabling.
It's already implemented.
Oh, okay.
So I don't know how there would be dislikes on it. I don't know. Your account, you hit the dislike button.
Okay.
Did you hit it?
No, but I could try. I dislike this.
Nice.
Okay, so several people are hitting the dislike button.
Yeah, right. Cool. Hit the dislike button. I don't mind. It doesn't really affect me one way or another. If people don't super chat, then it doesn't really affect me one way or the other,
Yeah, that's true.
If people could become members, that affects me.
Yeah.
You could become a patron.
Well, because then we can talk to them even off the live stream.
If you become a patron or a member on the channel, you could talk to Alyssa in the Discord.
Yeah, we could discuss all of the Pleco facts.
Or Minecraft stuffs, or memes,
mm-hmm.
or projects,
mm-hmm.
or even music if you want.
When your co-host dislikes the stream.
It's good. I think it's good. I think it's good when the co-host dislikes the stream. I think it's good. I think it's beneficial. I think it means that something's happening, right? But yeah, either way, you got to hit buttons. That's just how it works around here. Big D Smokes feeling a little cranky in the chat, which, if you guys haven't heard, Kyle Rittenhouse was acquitted on all charges not guilty. Which, hey man, that's how our American judicial system works. Whether I agree with it or not, it doesn't really matter. It's set in stone now. It's the law. Obviously, he's going to have to deal with civil lawsuits now, which do not hold the same standard that legal proceedings do. So I'm not sure what's going to happen with that, but he'll likely be funded by a bunch of right-wing wackos to pay off whatever civil lawsuits he goes under. I personally think this whole situation is an extreme disappointment in education, in parenting, in our attitude towards guns, our attitude towards sort of civil disobedience, stuff like that. I think the evidence from the trial, it was a lot of stuff was excluded that I think pertained, but that's the way, the prosecution tried to introduce stuff, the defense defended it, the judge upheld it. That's how our system works. I personally question the kind of not necessarily the character, but just how that judge was acting was very strange to me. He sort of had like a very strange vibe to him that I'm not used to. I haven't really ever disclosed like my own interactions with the legal community, the American justice system. They are very interesting, and I don't know that I will ever put them on the internet. I don't know if I'm ever going to put that out there, but I've been to court a lot of times, and I've never seen a judge act like that, to put it that way, from which may or may not be anecdotal, but I've definitely watched a fair bit of court hearings, but I've never seen a judge act in that manner. I've never really seen him act that way. Maybe that's normal in Wisconsin. I don't know. I've never been to court in Wisconsin before, but I think the big failing here is that it was somehow considered appropriate for the behavior of basically everybody involved, from the people protesting to the people supposedly protecting the property. That all seems very suspicious, especially considering from the testimony of the people that they said that they were protecting the like the owners of the property were like, no, we already took all the stuff off the property. Like, we didn't ask anybody to show up or whatever. Like, this whole idea that people are going to be in a militia is pretty bonkers to me. Like, it's all very weird. I don't think,
we'll put up a new one, Jason.
Sorry, Jason. I'll put up a new Discord link for you guys onto the community tab. I think it's just a big disaster. I think realistically, I think it's unfortunate that anybody lost their lives. That's a terrible tragedy. I think it's fairly interesting, a lot of the stuff that came out though during the trial, which was like, the prosecution was asking, hey, why did you seem to feel responsible to go out there? And it's like, well, I was going to protect property. It's like, yeah, but that wasn't even your job, and you weren't even on the property that you were supposed to be protecting. You were like way over here for some reason. It's like, well, I was going to put out a fire. And it's like, well, why were you going to put out a fire? Because I was going to. Like, well, why? What are you doing? And I think realistically, that's the big interaction to me. That's like completely unexplained at this point, where it's like, why were you doing that? Well, because I need to protect my community. It's like, well, why do you feel this is the way that you needed to protect your community? Because you made the statement that you were supposed to protect this car place, right? Why are you over there protecting some other place, and why are you out here running around? Because the idea is that the people that were protesting were out there running around, and you're supposed to protect from that. But why are you doing the same thing that they're doing, running all around and going amok? But, like I said, my personal opinion doesn't really have much sway. The American judicial system did what it does, and they came back with not guilty on everything. Which, like I said, I don't think my opinion has much to do with that. Realistically, I don't know. Do you have any thoughts on what's going on?
It's weird to think that he would go to Kenosha, Wisconsin from Antioch, Illinois.
That's that's not that weird though. I mean,
to protect places that he's probably never even been.
It's like going from Vancouver, Washington to Portland. It's like you drive 15 minutes over that way. It's like you're in a different state, but yeah, you're just driving over there. It's not. Well, you know what I mean? It's like if you're like the Twin Cities, like if you're like in Minnesota, right? What are the Twin Cities? It's
Minneapolis and St. Paul.
Right. But it'd be like, you're from St. Paul. What are you doing over in Minneapolis? It's like, I drove over here. Like, what from right over there? Like, what are you talking about? It's like, it's not that, it's that kind of situation.
Okay.
Like, I don't think he was really going that far.
Okay.
He did go across state lines, but the American Constitution says we don't impede the travel between states. Like that is in the Constitution. Like you cannot impede travel between state lines. So, I mean, there's that. And apparently, like, a lot of people thought he took his weapon from one state to another, which is not the case. That just is not true. It was like over there.
Oh.
Like, cause but the whole thing is super weird where it's like, he had gotten COVID money and took the COVID money and had his friend buy a rifle for him so that he could have the rifle when he turned 18 or whatever. But it's all weird. Like I said, I honestly think a lot of this boils down to like failure of parenting, failure of the community. Like, but one of the things that they didn't bring into the trial is that. And during the discovery, they brought this in where they said, like, here's a video of him 2 weeks beforehand talking about how he wished he had his gun because he thought he saw somebody shoplifting. And you're kind of like, that to me is the piece of evidence that, like, this kid thought that it would be okay to shoot somebody.
Yeah.
And they would not let that into the trial. The judge just was like, no, this doesn't have anything to do with anything, and you're like, okay, well, and that's just how that went down. And the prosecution tried to bring it in during questioning, and a lot of people found that to be super inappropriate. But the judge regularly broke in on the prosecuting side. But I do know that like judges hold themselves in that position to be the arbiter of like if anybody is doing something inappropriate, then they jump in. So, but I've never really seen that, but I think the big thing that worries me now is that there was going to be backlash one way or another. Like, and that's the thing that really makes me kind of worrisome. It makes me worried now is that like, and I don't know what it's like in other states, but in Washington State, where Alyssa and I both live, there are regularly, and whether it's publicized or not, there regularly are demonstrations from white supremacist groups in this state. Does that mean a bunch of people are going to go down there with rifles and air quote protect property and just stand around and try and antagonize people or whatever? I don't know. Or is it going to go the other way where, somebody's protesting and a bunch of those guys show up with guns? Like, this is just not good. Like, and, because I know a lot of Second Amendment guys that like to go out there and be like, I can legally open carry. And it's like, okay, that does not de-escalate this situation, right? And I feel like as people that live on the earth that are just responsible, regular human beings, like de-escalation should be more important and more emphasis put on that than I think we really are. Like, but I've talked about it on the show lots of times. It's either end of the spectrum is just kind of going crazier and crazier, and everybody in the middle is just trying to go like, hey man, like I need to drive to work today. I got to go to work. I have work to do. I got to take care of my kids. I got these bills to pay. I got to wonder if the daycare is going to be open next week. I got to blah, 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 blah. Everybody says like a million things going on. Mm-hmm. And meanwhile, there's this very small percentages of people just going nuts, and they're loud as hell. And it's just wild. as far as the Black Lives Matter protests that were going on last year, that's like one of the biggest protests, or by far the biggest protest that has ever happened in the United States. Like all across the United States, demonstrations all over the place. And it's obvious that there are enough Americans to go out and march in the streets and say this racial disparity that has happened in the United States is a problem. And it's identified by enough people that there were that many protests last year, right? Is that disparity ever going to get... Is that ever going to get bridged in this country the way that we're like continuing going forward, right? I've talked about this in the past. I mean, I literally have books probably sitting around here. Oh, I do, right here. Like, here's a good book, The Color of Law by Richard Rothstein. This gives you like a full breakdown of the history of redlining and the disparity that has been pushed on certain portions of the population in the United States over the last 80 years, right?
Yeah.
And for people to go like, well, that's ancient history. Like, no, it's not. Like, there are people that are alive that, like, my mom is old enough to remember when the Civil Rights Bill was passed, right? Like, that's not that long ago.
Yeah.
That was 15 years before I was born, right? That's not that long ago.
Yeah.
And if we're ever going to get to a point where we can like try to heal some of this stuff up, because oftentimes like the disparity is almost always argued that it's a cultural thing, and it's not. When you're poor, you're gonna be making bad decisions. Like, that's just how being poor works. Like, it's just that. And if you do make a bad decision, the consequences of that bad decision are tenfold more devastating than to somebody who's financially secure. And that's the reality that I think as Americans we should be addressing somehow systemically, right? I don't know if we're ever going to address the fact that the United States did say during Reconstruction we were going to make all of the people whole, right? Which is the argument for reparations, that people that were enslaved as slaves were promised a bill of goods and never got it.
Yep.
Certain things like that. I don't know if we're ever going to be able to come to an agreement on that kind of stuff. But I think it's fairly easy for almost every person out there to recognize that education is extraordinarily important, and we need to fund that. Social programs are extremely important, and we need to fund those. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Communities can't be downtrodden, have no drinking water, and all this kind of crazy stuff going on. We can't have that either, right? And, how are we going to continue to move forward to try and, like, bridge those disparities? I don't know, but it's going to take a long time to try and get there and, like, try to repair a lot of the damage that's been done with situations being stripped clean, right? One of the guys who was killed, right, during that whole Rittenhouse situation was a guy who apparently was in the hospital on a psych evaluation or whatever because he had tried to commit suicide.
Oh,
I think is what had happened, but it's hard to get the guy to testify or to find out like what really happened because they're no longer around. Which you and I have talked about a few times that like the sanitariums were closed in the 80s. They were closed, they were defunded, they were taken away, and we traded it in for the war on drugs. And we've been consistently putting money into that for the last 40 years, this war on drugs and stuff, and we don't have the psychiatric care facilities that we did in the past.
Mm-hmm.
And that's all gone now, right? So a guy that got killed right? You can't say that he got murdered because we've been through the legal proceedings. Somebody that got killed during that interaction was in a psych evaluation, and we didn't have the facilities to continue to have that guy be in there. So
Right.
he was kicked out on the street, was out there running around, you know. So those are the kind of things where my brain goes to, where I'm like, man, how could we, where could have society just been there to interject a little bit of sanity into this whole situation? You know,
Yeah.
then it's things like that where I'm like, man, I don't know if we're gonna make headway on this kind of stuff or not. It's hard to imagine that we're going to make headway on it, because every time, you know, it's 2 steps forward or it's 4 steps back. It's just do the tango, do all this crazy stuff. You know, one of the things I was reading about earlier today was just the expansion of the defense budget in 2017. Just the additional part of the defense budget was enough to make all of public colleges be free, right? You know, but then but then as a people, we sit down and we reward people like Ben Shapiro, who are consistently talking about how college is this awful place where people are indoctrinated into all this like terrible beliefs. Yet that's a guy who went to private school, who went to UCLA, and then went to Harvard, right? So we're literally, are we taking the opinion of the supposedly educated guy from those systems, who's supposed to be so smart and educated from being in those systems, who's like, it's all bad, guys. It's all bad. I'm like, so why do you get to have the benefit of that educational system and then be able to go onto Facebook and be promoted by Facebook like crazy? The messaging that the educational system is like ruining the United States.
I feel like the Shapiro family, Ben and also his sister, whatever her name is.
His sister and his weird wife.
Yeah. I don't know anything about his wife, but he's got a sister who also has like
makes YouTube videos
yeah,
now because he's
full
promoted.
Of nonsense.
Yeah. Which, by the way, I would like you guys to actually look into how much money was funded into promoting her YouTube channel.
Oh yeah, because she was on everything.
It's astounding.
It's ridiculous
how much money was poured in there.
I feel
just
like
promoting it, not even just making the videos, but promoting it.
Oh yeah, I know.
Yeah.
There was advertisements all over the place. I feel like they just sort of found a niche and decided to just like fill it, you know? Like, you know what? I can do this. Like, clearly, I'm highly educated. I know that this kind of shit is stupid. But I can talk the talk and make people think that I like it. And that's, I'm pretty sure.
Well, the problem is that, you know, people like Ben Shapiro claim to be these like intellectual juggernauts, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because they debate people or whatever, which is not, they don't debate people. They literally go find 18-year-olds, ask them weird questions, and then berate them. And then just berate them and act weird and obfuscate and sidestep any of their rebuttal or whatnot, which is not, it's not indicative of a level of intelligence or understanding of whatever the topic is, right? It's just
it's bullying.
It's just, yeah, I mean, you're literally just bullying people that don't have a pulpit to argue back.
Mm-hmm.
Or an opportunity to have a level of understanding about the topic that is supposedly being debated, which it isn't being debated. It's just being spoken about in a disparaging way.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, it's easy to tell that, like, yes, the Tucker Carlsons of the world, the Ben Shapiros of the world have easily found a niche of angry people who are willing to just listen to whatever somebody says, and it's pretty abysmal to see how promoted that content is at this point in time.
Mm-hmm. And he's got the benefit of being He's like a younger guy with relatively even features. And so
Right.
he can just be on there and be like, oh, this is me and my face. And
Right.
doing that kind of stuff.
Aubrey says, I saw an article on how hatred for a collective group give purpose and meaning to life.
Mm-hmm.
Which I don't know if I saw that article, but I did see that Joseph, Joseph's Brogan, you know that guy?
The handyman?
He I know that he was promoting the headline of that. I have not read the article, but you know, the thing is that like, oh, does Ben Shapiro go on and does he debate Joe Rogan? Like, no. Joe Rogan just sits there and goes like, Benny's saying stuff, and platforms people like Ben Shapiro and Jordan Peterson and whatnot, and like these clowns that are just out there, you know. And the thing is that there's never a pushback on these people,
right?
Because it's really easy to just tell a bunch of lies really quickly. And then when you have to sit down and give context and a full-on explanation of what it is that they were just lying about, it takes a really long time to put that together.
Mm-hmm.
So there's never really a pushback on these guys, because if you do push back on it, it's like they're able to put out 60 seconds of garbled nonsense, and then you have to put together a 30-minute explanation of like, well, here he's talking about this thing, and this is what this is, and this is the historical background around that, and that's what this is, and this is where this study is from, and blah, blah, blah. But
the soundbite is way easier to digest,
right,
than the entire like historical landscape that
Mm-hmm.
you'd have to like figure out how to untangle, you know.
Right. Well, you know, and you know, it's certain things like arguing whether or not opportunity zones was a good piece of legislation passed or not.
Mm.
It's going to take a long discussion for people to understand like why that would be viewed as detrimental to the communities that the opportunity zones are supposed to benefit.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And one of them would be like in Washington, the Central District, right? The Central District south of Seattle has become extraordinarily expensive property now.
Mm-hmm.
And the unfortunate thing is that, you know, those opportunity zone development stuff, it's easy for people to wash a bunch of dirty money in there through stepping in and getting all these crazy tax credits to build these like really crappy condos and stuff like that, sell them off, get the huge tax credit, make all that money, then just go away because they already in the have position, right?
Yeah.
And we go, oh wow, that area is developing and it's getting really nice, but the communities that were forced to live there historically, who actually do own property there, are getting pushed out because they can't afford the new crazy like property taxes, for instance, and all that stuff that
Right.
goes in to just trying to be like, hey, I just own this house. What's going on? Why is it like 4 times more expensive for me to just own the house?
It
And
used to
then
cost me
we go
$2,000 a month or a year.
and then the average person would hear that, it would fall on them, and they would just go like, well, why don't you just move away? And you're like, okay, but also at the same time, like this could be the one place where your family actually has roots in history, and it could be the one I you know, whether or not people think that that's important or not, I don't know how to convince anybody that it is important, that this is where your family was, this is where you existed, and that's important.
Mm-hmm.
It's not that important to me, but to try and express to other people that could be really important to certain families, that like this is where their family was and this is where they've been for the last 100 years or whatever, you know, I don't know how to do that. I don't know how to like propose the argument to explain it to somebody else who just doesn't know, who doesn't like know that in their heart or whatever, right? It's like somebody trying to explain to me why they think that the Bible is true.
Oh.
Right?
Yeah.
Because I'm just like, I don't know. It's just a book. Like, it's just an old weird book by weirdos, right?
Right. So going back to the having to move away from your place where you and your family have lived for the past 100 years or whatever, and your whole
Right.
community has lived there for forever. And I think of it as like, now I know the Central District is obviously part of Seattle, and Seattle is this big, huge city, right?
Right.
But the Central District itself is very much like an insular, smaller town.
Right. Well,
within the city. And so I think of it as being very similar to the small town that my mother grew up in, that her mother and their mother grew up in, you know, like several generations back. To the point where, like, if I go to that town, people there will look at me like this. And I'll be like, hey, you know, looking for some yarn. And then they'll be like, whose kid are you?
No, I don't know. I would never answer that question from anybody.
And I'll be like,
I would just say no. Get away from me.
Well, and then I'll say, you know, like, oh, I'm this person's kid from these people. These are my grandparents, you know, blah, blah, blah. And they're buried over here. And they'd be like, oh, and then, you know, and then they have all these stories about my parents or my mom anyway, and her siblings and all this other good stuff. And I can see how that, like having your tribe, you know, it's that tribe thing.
Tribal.
And so it's like having your own little group of weirdos, like the fish community. And then if you're trying to sell your house because it's getting too expensive, it's not likely that everybody in your tribe is going to be selling their houses at the exact same time to purchase new houses in some other location altogether and move the entire little village, right? Like, that's not what happens. What happens is you move to somewhere else randomly, and then you have to incorporate into a new area. And so then you don't know those people. They don't know you. They don't know your history. You don't know theirs. And so then you have to start all over again. You don't have any of the community or the comforts that you used to have. And it can be really hard to integrate into that community. And maybe you never do. You never really do. But maybe you have kids, and those kids make friends at school and they can have community. But still, it usually takes a few generations to get that kind of vibe back.
To get that vibe back?
Yeah, to get that back. Yeah, because you just, you know, and I think that's part of why it gets so hard to want to move, even though, like, you've got this house that's been in your family for 3 generations, and it's, of course, all paid off, but you're paying taxes, and you've budgeted your house to the point where, you know, it's like you're used to paying $2,000 or $3,000 a year for the property taxes for it, but then suddenly, like, next year your property tax bumps up to $5,000, and then the year after that it's suddenly $8,000, and then the year after that it's $10,000, and you're like, why is the price of my house, just living in a spot, the house that I already paid off and own, and everything else is getting more expensive, like power and internet and everything else, and the food gets more expensive. People tear down your local Piggly Wiggly or whatever. I don't think we have those here, but I just like saying Piggly Wiggly. And they bring in a Whole Foods, and you can't afford the Whole Foods, or you can, but it's like a stretch, and just and suddenly, you know, you don't know what's going on anymore, and that's why you have to move, or you end up renting out like the lower level of your house in order to make ends meet or something like that. It's interesting the way that communities end up being forced out. Yeah. Due to monetary concerns.
Where's my invite button? I can't figure out where the invite button is on here.
On the Discord?
Yeah.
I don't know, but you should definitely keep making that face forever.
Where is it? Can't find it. Oh. Oh, okay. Use the copy button. Oh, that's why. Okay. Control V. There we go. All channel members post. Okay. I made a post into the community tab so you guys can get onto the Discord if you're a channel member. There we go. I did it during the show. Look at that. Amazing. People are amazed. We got 1 billion likes. We got to get more likes. People stopped talking in the chat.
Yeah, we stopped talking just about fish and stuff.
Oh, man. People stopped talking in the chat. We'll have to close the chat then. Yeah. Okay. Well, hey, man. We're 2 hours in. We love you guys. Thank you for coming out today. We appreciate Alyssa coming down. So if you appreciate Alyssa coming down, send her lots of messages. Go over to her YouTube channel. Get Totally Weird. And watch her. She has some long videos on there.
I do.
Some long stream of consciousness type videos. You can definitely check those out.
Oh, have you checked them out?
I tried to.
I'm
I
sorry.
couldn't do the whole thing.
Sorry.
I'm taking it in small bites. Small bites. Small bites. We did get some super chats today. Where did they go? Where did my super chats go?
Pipex was first. I remember that.
Pipex was first. Pipex was first with a super chat. James N with a super chat. With a mustache. Steve Bearteach twice. Paula Kreinberg with a member chat action.
Which was awesome.
Yes.
Thanks, Paula.
And Rumbus with a super chat. And also Joel G, all the way from New Z, became a member today since 1978, as was told to
Heck
us.
Yeah.
So, yeah, we got that going on today. We got some super chats. We got some member-age. Somebody go top tier patron over on the Patreon, and we're going to go far away.